Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Hope everybody is doing well. Want to say first off, right off the top, here in the U.S. anyway, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Remember, if it weren't for mothers, none of us would be here. And if you are able to, for those of you who can, give Mom a call. Let her know that you're thinking about her on her special day. It's been a week. Things are mellowing out on the health front here. The light at the end of the tunnel is not a train. I've been actually able to get out and work in the yard, and things have been going well. I'm almost completely off the medications. I've got another 8 days left for medications. Then I have to wait 3 weeks to let all the medications out of my system. Then I can get back to work. So I'm almost back to getting her done. We'll see what happens. No promises. So, and yeah, that's yes. I am a firm believer in that sentiment, Butch. And I know that was directed towards Ellen, but true nonetheless. To some of us, it's a 4-letter word. So, yeah, it's beautiful here. Been absolutely gorgeous. Been barbecuing the last 3 days, and the temperature has been nice and warm, not oppressive yet. Thank you, Lord. And we're just going to give it a good go. I kind of decided at the last minute today to bring up a topic that isn't talked about a lot, and that is the Distort tool. And I really have no evidence to prove my theory on why the Distort tool isn't talked about a lot. But I think personally, a lot of folks just forget that it's there, or they don't realize the use of it. So we're going to talk about it. It is a real versatile tool. It can help with your designs, especially if you're looking to do something a little bit outside of the box. So there's no better way to start discussing it than to just dive into the middle of it. So let's dive into it. I'm using Aspire today for no reason other than I haven't used Aspire in a while. So other than that, everything I'm going to show you can be done in VCarve Pro as well. Now, the Distort tool has several options. And for those who don't know where it is, it's right up here next to the alignment tools, the Distort tools under transform objects. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth icon in. So obviously, before we can distort something, we've got to select something to distort. And so I'll select this first star here. And there's a couple of ways we can do these things. You'll notice I have 2 stars here. One being just a standard star that I drew over here. Then I copied it and I rotated this one 45 degrees. Now, we have several ways that we can distort things. And I'm going to go through each one here. One is using the bounding box. Now, if you notice, I have the bounding box selected here, and it brings up the standard square bounding box for this object because it is of equal size all the way around. If it were longer, obviously it would be a rectangle, but it brings up a standard bounding box. Now, if I click off and don't select it, we see invalid selection here. That's because I don't have anything selected. Now, when I select this one, instead of going with the standard selection box, I can decide to use the rotated bounds because this one has been rotated 45 degrees. I click apply, and we see that it's letting me use a rotated bounding box. Now, from here, I can go straight into editing this bounding box. Now, if you notice my cursor, it's changed to the arrowhead instead of the arrow. This is the same arrowhead that's used in the node editing mode because we have gone into a basic use of node editing. I can grab points and I can stretch this rotated bounding box and I can distort the vector just simply by dragging the points around the bounding box. But if I bring down over here and I right click, I can change this to a Bezier curve, an arc. I can insert a point. And I just insert that point right where I clicked on it. Now, I can adjust from there as well. Or I can bring up in here, if I should choose to. Now let me Control Z that back until I no longer have that point there. I can right click here and I can change this to a Bezier curve. So now I have handles that I can move in various directions and pull that down some more, like so. The ability to distort this based on a rotated bounding box gives me a little bit more control than if I were to select this one. Now you notice this is grayed out. I can't change rotated bounds. What I'll need to do is I'll need to get out of the form, select it, then go back into the bounding box. And we see, because it's not rotated, the rotated bounds is not check marked because the object hasn't been rotated. Now, again, I'm still using the bounding box, and the normal controls are still work, except they're more or less the same as the move and transform mode. Anything I'm doing right here can also be done in the move and transform mode. So it just depends on what you are trying to do. Now down, when I get this all figured out, I can click Apply. Now I can come down here to Edit Envelope. Now this part down here works whether you're using the rotated bounds or the standard bounding box. What I can do is I can edit the envelope. Now the distortion envelope is this bounding box. I can come up here and I can now I can move the points around. So I can apply perspective. That kind of looks like that star has been rotated slightly, counterclockwise or anti-clockwise, if you will. Or I can transform the object, which takes me back into the regular move and transform mode. My final option down here is to bake that distortion. Now, if I just click and close it, I say close it. I don't know why I'm drawing boxes out here. Anyway, I select this. You'll notice it's still solid outline. This is not a text object. This is an object. I cannot edit these vectors. If I tap N to go into node editing, it brings up the bounding box. That's because the distortion has not been baked yet. Now I can bake that distortion, and that makes it permanent, and now we see that it goes back to standard vectors. Now I can close this, and now it's treated just like any other vector. I go into node editing mode, and I can see where my points are. I can see any handles, and I can go into node editing and make any corrections I want to do there. Stubbs' mom says the star on the right looks like a cartoon character, like it's running. Yeah, well, okay, there you go. Completely unintentional. So now I can come out of node editing mode by tapping the letter N on my keyboard, and that bakes the distortion. That means now it's just like any other vector. Can you scale that to fit something before baking? Yes, you can. And that's where this come in. I've got it selected. We'll jump back into transform or the distort object. But you see, now I've started over. I'm working with the bounding box. Since I baked that distortion, it's become permanent within those vectors. Let me close this. Then I'm going to Control Z. Now we're back to a pre-baked condition. Now I can either transform the object, which is more or less the scaling to fit wherever you want it. I can do that here. If I hold down Shift, it scales from the center without moving the position of the center of the object. That's transform object. It's the same as move in transform mode. So you can scale it here. If I close this with it still selected, I can set the size here. I'm going to leave link XY checked, and we'll make this 4.0. Click apply, and I can scale it. So you can scale it to fit down into something or enlarge it to make it fit into something else. I can unlink the XY and change this to 6.5, apply it, and it will accept that. Then I can come back into the distort vectors, and I can bake that distortion. So the only thing I can't do is, for instance, delete that span or cut it. There are a few, if I edit envelope, there are a few, I have limited control in node editing. It's a simplified version of node editing. But I can delete a point, smooth a point, mirror horizontal or vertical, exit node, edit mode, or I can check the properties. And the node properties are just going to tell me where this node is in absolute coordinates. I can move it, and that's about it within the properties. So Ellen is asking, do you need to bake it? If you plan on doing any editing other than what you can do within the form, yes, you need to bake it. For instance, if you were going to if I were going to overlay a standard rectangle over this for the sake of argument, and then come in and trim these away so that, let me just go ahead and do it. I can trim that away, but I can't trim this away. And you notice it trimmed this lower vector to the bounding box. Well, and this one up here as well. It did not trim it to the actual vector. So let me Control Z that. Close. I'll select this. Go back into the distort tool, and I'll bake that distortion. Close. And now it's just a regular vector. Now I can come in, clip, clip, whoops, too far, and clip. So if you are going to be editing you do need to bake it. If you are not going to be editing it, then you don't necessarily need to bake it. All right. With this as an unbaked object, can I go over and, for instance, V-carve this? Let's take a look. Flat depth point 0.62. I'll leave that alone. 90-degree V-bit. I will select the clearance tool. Let's go with an 1/8" end mill. Select. And that's all I'm going to do is just select that. I'm not going to do anything else down here. And we will preview the visible toolpaths. Yes, I can V-carve it without it being baked. So, reset the preview. You only need to bake it if you plan on editing the vector. Now, there was an excellent question brought up by 8 Center at the very beginning here when he said, for me, the question is why and when would you need to distort anything? And I'll get into that right now. You can see I've got another sheet going over here. And this is a text object. This has not been converted to vectors. It's not been converted to curves. It's just a text object. When we go back, I'm going to select the text. When we go back into the Distort tool, we also see I can go ahead and edit in the bounding box, but I can also distort above a single curve. Or I can distort between two curves. So I've got this selected. Now I need to select the curve. And I can change that to above a single curve. Click apply. And it's distorted that text in that it's taken on the shape and the length of the curve. So when it comes to applying a text to a curve, this is another way of doing it. This can come in handy. I mean, you still have the ability, once it's been distorted this direction, we can still edit the envelope or transform the object. So I can still come in and I can bring that up here, for instance. And now I have my text looking like that. And I can narrow it here so it kind of looks like it's moving away or following something in an arc that's moving away. Let me Control Z both of those. I can also shift here and bring that down just a little bit. Now it still stays above this curve, but it's taken on a little bit higher up here. So let me back that up, and I'm going to Control Z past that. Now, let me select. No. Let me close. There we go. All right. Now let me select my text again. Go back into the Distort tool, and we have between two vectors. So I've got my text selected. I'm going to hold down Shift, select this vector, select this vector. The vectors are valid. I'm going to click Apply. Now, why didn't it do anything? Why didn't it do anything? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Let me close and whoops. Go back into Distort. Oh, because I didn't do between two curves, that's why. Close, Control Z. Yes, all right. Distort. I'm going to go between two curves. So I got to select a top edge curve. Nope, wrong. Control Z. I forgot. I got to select the bottom first. There. Select the bottom, then the top. All right. Now I've got it. Now when I apply, it's backwards. Why is it backwards? Because of the starting point. My starting point is down here on this vector. Let me Control Z to undo that. We'll close this. Now let me select this, and I see I got the black point over here. If I select this, I've got the black point over here. This is my starting point for this curve. This is my starting point for this curve. So now I have to go into node editing, and I've got to make this my start point. Come out of node editing. Now I can select my text. Go into Distort. And I want between two curves, then I got to select, hold down Shift, select the bottom first, then select the top. Now I can apply, and now it takes on the shape in between these two curves. I can still edit the envelope, so I can bring this down so that it fits a little bit better. I can still put any of these points into any positions I want, so it will distort the text however I'd like for it to be. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. We will close and Control Z. Forgot to do that. Let me delete these curves, and I'm going to go with some straight lines here. I'll start here, come up this way, space bar to accept that line. I'm going to come straight down vertically here, and go this way, space bar to accept that line. Close. Now I've got my text. Distort. Hold down Shift, select the bottom first, top second, between two curves, apply, and there we go. Now if you notice, it's taking the top of the highest, the tallest character, in this case being the top of the D, and it's matching all of the text. It's expanding all of the text to that. And the same thing here with the Y. The lowest part is the bottom of the Y. It's not making all of this. It's not setting that on the line. So that's something to take into consideration. If I want this brought down to this line, I have to come along and do that myself. And that's a little bit of trial and error. Yeah, that's a little bit better. It's not going to be perfect because this still does not want to come down. That's better. There we go. If I want this M on this line, I have to do a little bit of adjusting. Yeah, a little bit too much, but you get the point. It's taking the lowest point of the lowest letter and the tallest point of the tallest letter, and that's what decides where and how it's being placed. Now, this doesn't just work with text objects. This works with pretty much anything. I saw a question earlier about 3D models. Who was it? I believe it was Rich Bratcher that asked, where did it come here? I think, I got to find it. Yes, it was Rich Bratcher that has Distort 3D models. Now, again, I'm doing this in Aspire, but it works the same way in VCarve. I'll go in here to my clip art, and we have Wally available to us. So yeah, I've got Wally here. Let me select him. I'm going to go into Distort, and I'm going to do between two curves. Hold down Shift. There's the bottom. There's the top. We'll apply. Why you would want Wally looking like this, I don't know. Actually, it looks kind of cool. But you can distort a 3D object the same way. But you still have options again. And notice how this turns into a grid. And we're going to go up here just a bit. All right. And we'll bring this down, smash his tail down just a little bit more. So yes, distorting 3D objects is possible. All right. We're going to close this, and we'll get rid of this here, and we'll come back to an arc, and I'll start here, and bring him up about like so. Then I'll come straight down here and here, and we'll go about like so. Close that. Now I've got my two curves. Select Wally, go into Distort, and again, I'm going to select the bottom first, then the top. Make sure my start points are the same end between two curves. We'll click Apply. Now he just looks like he's fat. That's fine. But again, I still have to bake that distortion. The component must be baked before editing. Okay to continue? Okay. And there it is. Now if I look in the 3D view and turn off the vectors, I got a fat Wally. Fat Wally would be a good name for a garage band. So, there we go. That's pretty much the basics of the Distort tool. The thing to remember with it is that one of the things to remember is once you have baked it, that's considered a permanent change. Now, I can Control Z out of it, but once I save the file, that cannot be changed. Why you would want to, I don't know. If you save it as a template, it can be changed. It can be edited. You can go back. But you cannot Control Z. You would have to delete the 3D object or the vector or whatever it is that you've distorted. You'd have to delete it and start over. So just know the limitation on your ability to go back to before distorted is based on when you saved it. If you go back and change it before you save it and close the file, you can go back and change, so long as it's within the window, the undo and redo window, which I believe is, I don't remember how many steps it is. Excuse me, I shouldn't have closed that. The other thing to remember is make sure, if you're using between two curves, make sure your start points are the same point. Also remember the order in which you select them. Okay? I'll show you what I'm talking about here. We'll select my object. I'm going to go between two curves. If I select the top first and the bottom, apply, he's upside down. Control Z, I have to select I have to close it. Select Wally, go into Distort, hold down Shift, select the bottom first, then the top. Then I can apply. And he stays right side up. Remember, bottom first, then top. And remember to make your start points on the two curves at the same end. So, that's it as far as the Distort tool is concerned. Why you would use it and when you would use it, it's totally up to you. It just gives, it's a way for you to give objects a little bit of perspective. You can make text look like it's going off in a certain direction. You can make it project forward slightly or look like the perspective has been turned slightly. Things of that nature. It's just one of those little custom touches that can make your products, make your projects stand out from the others. You know, anybody can say, welcome. But if you can say, welcome, why not? You know. Jeff over at Woody Wan says, I use it all the time to arch text in patches. Yeah. Yeah. Most imaging software, like Adobe Illustrator, PaintShop Pro, Photoshop, they have this Distort tool built into them as well. So you can do the same thing with vectors. Inkscape even has something similar. So yeah, it's used to make your products and projects stand out. But I think a lot of people forget that it even exists. So it doesn't get talked about a lot. So now, did anybody have any questions out here? I mean, that went a lot faster than I... Okay, 8 Center says, I've used that before to make sewing like dots along curve. Yeah. Didn't really consider that to be a distort function, though. More like follow the curve function. Yeah, and that's legit. But in what you're doing could also be done with the oh my gosh, copy vectors along a vector. You know, you could make a needle hole, just a small hole to represent a needle hole, and draw a rectangle and set it. Well, instead of telling you about it, let's do it. This is not what we were talking about, but it's valid. Let's create a circle here, and I'm going to make it a real tiny circle. I don't know what the diameter. Let's go with 1/32 of an inch. 1/32. I don't know how many millimeters that is. Equals. And I will create one, say, right down here. Very small circle to represent a hole. All right. And we'll close that. Now I need a vector for it to follow, so I will draw a rectangle, say, right here. Okay, that looks good. All right, so now I want to use copy along vectors. And notice it says copy the first object along the remaining vectors. Okay, so I'll select that first. Hold down Shift, select my rectangle second. Now I'm going to go into copy along vectors. Now, I've selected my object down here. I can either specify a number, a distance between each copy. So if you know that, that's fine. Or I can specify the number of copies. So if I want to go with, let's see, what would be appropriate spacing? Let's say 1 millimeter apart. Okay. I don't remember right off the top of my head what the imperial equivalent to 1 millimeter is. So I'll type in 1 asterisk, which is on top of the 8 button on your keyboard. I, meaning I'm changing this to imperial, equals, and that gives me the imperial equivalent to 1 millimeter. Then force even spacing and copy. And it placed those holes, the center, 1 millimeter apart on center. Okay? Close that, and there we go. No, I think I tried this way before, and there was a problem with it for some reason. Can't recall what exactly, but I think it didn't copy properly when it came to dashes. Yeah, you might have to, you can use open vectors, but it would probably be better to use small rectangles if you want them to be shaped like dashes. You know, it's just that way is a little bit easier to discern, because right now if I zoom in here, I can tell the difference between this rectangle and this circle. But if I had a bunch of dashes arranged on this rectangle, I wouldn't know one from the other. It would be ding dong near impossible to separate them. Unless, I say again, we'll Control Z that to undo it. Unless I check create the copies on a new layers. If I create the copies on a new layer, then we're not going to change anything. We'll select my hole, hold down Shift, select my rectangle. I'm still going the distance between, force even spacing, copy, and there it goes. And now they're on layer 2. So I can turn off layer 1 and my rectangle goes away. But there are my holes. That would be the way to make sure those dashes were visible. And it's more about turning, whoops, not sheet, layer. It's more about turning off the layer with your rectangle than it is about selecting one or the other. So, but yeah, I mean, that could be done, or the distort tool could be used. 100%. There are many, many ways. And when Michael Mazalik says 3 answers, he means at a minimum. Sometimes there are a lot more. So, you know. And I've said it before and I'll continue to say it. The right way is the way that works for you safely, without damaging your equipment, without damaging yourself or somebody else. And it turns out the way you want it. You know, if it turns out the way you expected it to, and you didn't hurt yourself, your machine, or anybody else, then you're golden. It gets wonky when your rectangle isn't squared edges at 90 degrees. Oh, no doubt there are certain things that are just not going to work, you know, and you do the best you can. But, well, let's take a look at that. Let's draw a, oops, I got to share first. Let's take a look at that. Let's draw a rectangle out here. Well, I didn't need to do that, actually. Control Z. What I'm going to do is I'm going to distort this rectangle. I'm going to use the bounding box. We're fine there. I want to edit the envelope. What I want to do is I want to select these two top nodes. And all I did was I drew a box around both of them. And we're going to move that over this way. Click off. I'm going to select these two nodes here. And I'm using my cursor left and right buttons. And I'll bake that distortion. So now I've got more or less a diamond. Okay. Try it with 3/16 dashes, 1/8 inch apart, 1/8 inside a triangle. Boy, you're really, really, really coming along. All right. Well, first of all, what I would need to do to go 1/8 inside that triangle is just draw that triangle, because it's going to follow along the center of the triangle. So let's take your example. All right. Delete. And we're going to create a polygon, and I want it 3 sizes. That works. And we'll go like so. Close. I will center that on my material. Okay, and we don't want 90-degree angles. We're looking at 3/16 long dashes. I don't do easy work, never did. I'll give you an amen there, brother. You don't do easy work. All right, so let's draw a 1/8 inch long dash. I'll click here to give me my start point. My angle is going to be 0. The length is going to be 0.125. I will add, and there is an 1/8 inch long dash. All right. That's my 1/8 inch long dash. Now, oh, you wanted 3/16. Well, bugger. All right. Let's go here. I'll set my start point. Then I'll come up here with an angle of 0 again. And a length of 3/16. 3/16 equals 1/875. I'll add that next point, then close, and there's my 3/16 dash. Now, you want them 1/8 of an inch apart and 1/8 inch inside the triangle. Okay? Here's how I'm going to get that. I'm going to select that triangle, and I'm going to offset inwards 1/8 of an inch. Create sharp offset corners. Offset. This is the triangle that I'm going to follow. It's 1/8 of an inch inside. So I'll select here, hold down Shift, select here, follow along, and we want a space of 1/8 inch apart. Okay. And we're going to go 0.125. I am going to force even spacing. The reason I'm going to force even spacing is because I don't want one bent around a corner, because that's not how a sewing machine would work. Okay. And create copies on a new layer, align the objects to the curve, copy. So it did not bend them around the corners, it just set one, as you would call it, wonky. And it set another one wonky. And it set another one wonky. So we'll Control Z, and I'm not going to align them to the curve. Now we'll copy. That is even worse. I have to align them to a copy. Control Z, or align them to the curve rather. Let me not force even spacing, and we'll copy. Again, we get these corners. My point in this is sometimes you are not going to be able to get exactly 100% what you're looking for. Yep, that's about like what I remember. Okay. And sometimes you're not going to be able to get 100% what you're looking for. Let me close this first of all. Deselect. Now I'm going to select that triangle, and I'm going to move it to another layer. No, I don't need to do that because I put the copies on another layer. I can turn off layer 1. Yeah, my triangles are gone. Okay, so now you see why these are pointed in that direction. So I can delete that one. I can delete this one. And I can delete this one. But we have another option. We have another option. Control Z, 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 Z. Turn layer 1 back on. And that is to make 3 separate open vectors. So I'll tap the letter N on my keyboard to go into node editing. Cut vector. Cut vector. Cut vector. So now I have 3 separate open vectors. So we'll select the object to be copied. And we're going to start down here. Hold down Shift. And we will follow the vector. I'm not... Yes, I am going to put them on a new layer. Copy. Now, the thing to remember is this goes by the center of the vector. So it's copying, that's the center. Select, hold down, deselect, select here, hold down Shift, copy. Click off, here, hold down Shift, copy. Close. They're all on separate layers. Turn off layer 1, and that's what I've got now. The problem, nope, I got to turn off layer 2, 3, 4. No, turn them back on. Why do I still have solid lines? Oh, I don't think I forced even spacing, did I? Let me go turn layer 1 back on and Control Z, 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 Z. Go back into here. Nope, I didn't. All right, Control Z, Z, Z. And let's see, do I still have? Okay, cut vector. All right. Now let me force. Oh, there's my object. There's my vector. Now I can force even spacing. And again, it's going by the center. Align to curve, create copies on a new layer. Copy. Now, if I want these on the same layer, layer 2 has become my active layer, I will turn that off. So I only have one layer. Now I'll select that one, copy, select that one, copy, close, turn off layer 1. Oh, you dog. It didn't do, okay. All right, it didn't do it. I thought it would put them all on the same layer, and it didn't. That makes it ding-dong near impossible. All right, Control-Z, Control-Z. I'll have to put them on separate layers that I can fix later on. BBDB, create on a new layer, copy, then select here, create on a new layer, copy, close, and we'll turn off layer 1. And it still overlaps them. Yep. Sometimes you can't always get what you want. It's overlapping them. Why is it overlapping them? Because I'll tell you why it's overlapping them. And I don't know why I didn't flash on this. Cut the triangle into 3 vectors and do it. I did. Here's the problem. Exactly, Steve. It works from the center and the line is bigger than the gap. I just flashed on that myself. What we went with was a 3/16 inch long vector with a gap of 1/8 of an inch. Now, if those were reversed, let me turn layer 1 back on. Bonk. Control Z, Z, Z. Close the layer manager. Control Z, Z, Z. And this we're going to change to 1/8 inch. Link XY. Apply, close, and now we select it, and we shift select this 1875, create copies on a new layer, boom. That's better. Select, hold down shift, select, copy. Make sure I didn't get that hole. Copy, close. Now we can turn off layer 1 and we're a little bit better. Now we have these here that we can adjust, we can play with. But Steve was absolutely right. The gap was smaller than the vector. So now if we take this, oops, we make layer 4 active. Turn off the other 2. Select all, right click, move to layer 2. Turn on layer 3, make it active, turn off layer 4, select, right click, move to layer 2. Now everything is on layer 2. These 2 are empty. So I can come over here, click on this, delete all empty layers. Boom. There we go. Now they're on the same layer. Snip, 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 Now again, that's not realistic. Snip, snip. But if it's for a design that's going to be cut, carved, or engraved, it's realistic enough. So turn on layer 1. We have this row of dashes 1/8 of an inch inside this outer triangle. But we didn't. There we go. And now I can delete that triangle because I no longer need it. Delete. 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 Turn layer 2 back on, and there's our design. Now, you can adjust the length of the line to make it work. Yes, you can adjust the space to make it work. Would need to we just need shift it a tiny bit to get the corners looking right. Yeah, and, you know, trial and error, you know. John says, go back to the first time and read my messages a few back. You're going to make me backtrack all the way back there, John. All right, that's fine. That's fine. What were you doing here? Where do we see? Go back up to the first time. Well, I'm not seeing anything, John. I guess I missed it. Because we're back into baking. Let's see, I'm looking for you, John. I'm looking for you. This is real. This is riveting entertainment. I'm telling you. Yeah, I'm not seeing it, John. I'm sorry. I'm not seeing it. Let's see here. 8th Center says it's for a backpack design on leather to be laser cut out. In case you're wanting to know, the triangles come into play as support on the play in the support on the back. Still working on the rest of it. Oh, okay, okay, cool. So you're looking at laser. All right, 5 messages back, John. It says. I'm still not seeing it. I'm still not seeing it. 5 messages back. No. Nope. I'm not seeing it, John. Sorry. Retype, please. Or copy and paste. For some reason, I'm not seeing it at all, and I don't know why that is. So. But yes, 8th Center, if this is for a laser, I get it. I understand. But just, you know, a laser actually could cut these. But if you're actually going to stitch it, of course, if it's a leather patch and a leather strap, you could use a stitching awl, but not if you're making a bunch of them. Excuse me. So, man. Pardon me. It's allergy season. Yay! Man. All right. So, we went way off the deep end, but that's okay because this is the kind of discussion I like to get into. I come in, I might have a topic, I might not have a topic. So when you folks want me to push a little bit, I like that. I like that. It helps out. Yeah. Full hiking ready leather backpack with the stitching all. No, thank you. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I understand. But this is going to be kind of one of those trial and error type of things. Just remember that the gaps between the lines need to be either the same or smaller than the length of the lines themselves. You can't have a longer line than gap. So, again, because it goes by the center. Like who wants to hand drill a cribbage board? You know how some of these hand tools only people are. I mean, and before the Industrial Revolution, did they have cribbage boards? I almost said, before drill presses became cheap enough for the masses to afford. But I get you. I understand. I wouldn't either. So, and again, I don't know. Did they have cribbage boards before the Industrial Revolution? I don't play cribbage. I don't know. So, anyhows, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I need to go grocery shopping and get some stuff to throw on the barbecue, maybe. We'll see what happens. Beautiful weather. Uh-oh. See, Steve is right there, man, doing research. Cribbage was invented in the 1630s. So, yeah, they hand drilled it. We have scrimshaw on a walrus tusk cribbage board. Must have been hand drilled. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up. The Distort tool. Don't be afraid of it. Get in and play with it. Check it out. Add some custom touches. Just get comfortable with it. And if nothing else, remember it's there. So, let's see. Tomorrow, channel members, we have our regular members only live stream, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I have no idea what we're going to talk about, so I'm going to be relying on y'all. I haven't had a suggestion. Maybe, Butch, I'll dig into that. Maybe we'll talk about what you and I were discussing beforehand. I don't know yet. Flowers for Linda. There are so many flowers in our house right now that if I brought Linda flowers for Mother's Day, they would be lost in the maze. Linda's a fan of irises. And when I say she's a fan of irises, oh boy, does she love irises. We've got a bunch of them. Anyway, channel members, let me know what you want to see tomorrow. Maybe I'll dig into that, Butch, and maybe I'll have some answers for you tomorrow. Maybe I won't. But I know. I know we'll figure something out, and I know you guys always come up with excellent questions. Also, don't forget, channel members, Thursday is our 3D printing live stream where we get into oh my goodness, all kinds of stuff. We've been focusing on free software, and this coming up Thursday, massive friend of the channel and my very first channel member, Sargon, is going to do a presentation on FreeCAD. It's an alternative to Tinkercad, but he's going to get in and kind of show a few things about the new update to FreeCAD. So, and I'm sure there will be further discussions along with everything else. Don't forget to email me your project pictures so we can share them on the Monday members only live stream and the Thursday members only live stream. Also, don't forget our Saturday evening Zoom call that is just a normal BS session where we talk about life, the universe, everything from barbecue to camp trailers to last night we talked about going fishing. Just anything and everything. Just a regular hangout. It's not broadcast anywhere, it's not recorded. That's every Saturday night, 5 ish Pacific, 8 ish Eastern. And those are just some of the perks that come along with channel membership. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you'd like more information on how to become a channel member, you'll see the word join down below this video panel. Click that word. You're not joining anything. You're just getting information. There's no obligation. And a video is going to play to tell you all about channel membership. We have a great group of people. We have the super secret WhatsApp group and the Facebook group and the Messenger chat and all kinds of way to get together and hoot and holler, and a little bit more personalized attention from everybody within the group. And we're all 100% dedicated to making all of us succeed, whether it be on the CNC router, a laser, a 3D printer, all things virtual to handheld objects, just whatever you want to get into. So, thank you for spending part of your Sunday with me. Thank you for spending part of your Mother's Day with me. And again, if it's at all possible, call Mom. Just tell her that you're thinking about her. And other than that, y'all take care. Have a great day.